caught it. To his left, sorry, he caught it and managed to avoid a car coming past him, overcorrected, and then got slammed into the side by, I believe it was Newer, that just slammed into the side of him. Now Connell in P9 with probably some heavy damage.
Yeah, sorry about that. The stream has just been down for a little bit because for some reason it seems my internet decides that it doesn't want to work one day a week, and that is Sunday.
It's Sunday, man. Let it rest. What can you
do? Yeah, my internet, it seems, is far more religious than I am.
Ryan Ware is gonna start to do what we expected him to do, and he's now gapping Jasper Ericsson 1.3 seconds between them. Still got Louis Fernandez and Henry Coleman very close to each other. Though that Aston managing to stick close to the AMG. For the back, everything's sort of gotten more spaced out, but at the back, Jose Martins and Andrew Hearn are having quite a heated battle. That Alpine very good on the brakes, managing to stay ahead into the final corner on the inside. But Martins in that Porsche still staying side by side to the final corner on the outside this time. But the Porsche's straight line speed does prevail and just drives by the Alpine of Andrew Hearn to take P10. Ooh, and Louis Fernandez finally making a move on Henry Coleman down the back straight into the second hairpin. I think no, it's the first hairpin more like it. Don't know names of the corners, but he does make the overtake stick. So now Louis Fernandez goes up to P5. Colin Daly getting closer to Newer. Now after his shunt, he does seem to. Well, he does have some damage. He hasn't lost that much pace.
So, Ryan Ware is still leading with Jesper Eriksson and Jantatis Bartkus just behind them. Those two are fighting over second as Ryan starts to pull away, and then we have the fight between Louis Fernandez and Harley Coleman to round out our top five.
Fernandez did manage to overtake Coleman a little while ago on quite an ambitious move into the hairpin.
Conor Daly here looking really aggro as well behind Alan Noah.
Quite surprising from Daly given that massive shunt he's got. But it does show how resilient the GT4s are, as Jesper Eriksson and Bartkus have a bit of a scrap in Sector 1. Bartkus coming on top of that and managing to stay ahead. Quite surprised that Ginetta is so good here, given the fact it kind of tops out at 240 because of that that gearbox they found lying around in a shed, basically. Newer and Connell Daly now have side by side onto the back straight, coming into the second hairpin. Hairpin still side by side, turning into the hairpin, but Newer slightly losing it a little bit. Daly going around the outside and making the overtake stick. Just carrying a little bit more speed. That hairpin is quite wide, so you can actually pass on both sides.
And they're still side by side as well, going on to the last straight. It's a fantastic little race here from the two Porsches.
Norris fighting back. Yeah, Norris fighting back side by side. This can be quite a bit dangerous in the GT3s, but GT4s being a little bit slower. They can't actually stay side by side as Colin Daly just decides to casually go off the track to keep that position. Jose Martins, though, being pulled in by that battle, trying to go down the inside of Noor.
Yeah, he's managed it. He is now side by side. He's actually got fully ahead going into the penultimate corner. Great work there by him to take advantage of those two fighting ahead, and now he can try and pull up to Conor Daly ahead of him.
well, the front has gotten more spaced out. The back of the field is still quite close together.
Absolutely, these three Porsches all within a second of each other.
Hey, same car, same pace, right? That's how it works.
Yep. Oh, and yeah, Jose Martins is already on the back of Conor Daly and is looking real feisty to try and get past here.
Will he try another move around the inside through the hairpin, or will he try just, a better exit? Let's see. He doesn't like to stay behind. He didn't go for a hero dive.
Yeah, a little bit of a jink there as well, so he's lost some momentum coming out there. Not going to see anything happen immediately. He's going to stick right behind there, as also at the front.
Something happened to Ryan Ware probably because he lost a lot of that momentum. He's now only half a second in front of Bartkus, and Bartkus closing that gap. Much better on the brakes in the Maserati. Coming into the final two corners, about half a second between them with Jasper Eriksson. 1.5 seconds clear, just probably looking at that battle, thinking whether he can capitalize on the aggression that's about to commence. Say that still, Jose Martins and Conor Daly very close to each other, further back in P8 and P9. Those Porsches staying very close. Again, quite. Jose still, I think, has a bit of extra pace compared to Connell. He's always closing the gap in Sector 1. So I think we might see something happening, as Bartkus is also coming closer and closer to Ryan. So we're going to see a few fights here in the final few laps of the race. We've got around, I think, 4 laps left at most. Jose Martins looking for a way past into the hairpin down the back straight now. Well, it's not the back straight, it's the second hairpin, basically, the long one. Coming in on the inside, managed to stay side by side out of the hairpin, gets a slightly better exit, still side by side on the outside of the next left-hander. In the braking zone, decides to take a wider line, but not as wide as Connell as he goes into the gravel, letting Jose Martins go by pretty much unimpeded. There was not much of a battle left after that, as Bartkus and Ryan Ware come out of the final hairpin into the final two corners, two left-handers, at only a third of a second separating them. Seems to be the only big battle on the track at the moment. Gonna follow Bartkus a bit as we see Ryan Ware getting a little bit squirrely there at the turn 2.
Absolutely, really impressive of Bartkus to have managed to keep up with Ryan with what pace he was setting in the qualifying.
Well, it's just that I think this being a support race, they didn't really practice beforehand, so Bartkus just kind of had to warm up to the car and the track, and it's paying off now as he's very, very close to Ryan here, looking down the inside of the hairpin. Better braking, but will he make that overtake stick? Still side by side just a little bit as Ryan's trying to fight back, but I don't think that acceleration of the Maserati is going to be enough coming into the right-hander and the braking zone. Very tricky braking zone here. Very easy to overstep the mark as Bartkus kind of does try to stay ahead. It's all about the exit now into the long back straight. And I think that's that. I think he's got the position. Bartkus now in the lead, but only by a little bit. Ginetta's going to suffer a bit now on the straight line, though. Into the very hard braking zone for the last hairpin, though. Be a bit hard for the Maserati to keep up with no ABS as Bartkus runs wide, letting Ryan Ware get very close to the back of him. I almost saw them spinning around there, but they didn't. Very, very good discipline by Ryan. Ryan, as he goes around the outside of the second to last corner, Bartkus makes a bit of a mistake. Gets a bit of oversteer. when we're around the outside, last corner, managing to retake the lead. Now, Bartkus sticking to the back of him through turn 1. And all this fighting has allowed Jasper Eriksson and Luis Fernandez to get in closer and closer now. So this 2-car fight is going to become a 4-car fight into the final 2 or 3 laps of the race. Further back as well, Chris McKenna and Ed Turrell are also having a bit of a scrap, though it's a little bit more tame than at the top of the field, as Jasper Eriksson makes a pretty big mistake, goes onto the gravel, onto the second straight, almost letting Luis Fernandez get back, but just holding on barely to that position. And we're running slow.
So we've got 4 cars at the front now. Ryan Ware, Bartkus, Eriksson and Fernandez all close together, making a nice little last lap finish to this race.
It's all about who blinks first now. Who's gonna make that first small mistake, letting the others through. Bartkus now has to be very, very careful about how he chooses to attack, because if he messes up even a little bit, he's just going to have Eriksson all over him.
Yeah, being in the middle of these little groups is always a hard place to be, because if you don't get past the car in front fast enough, the car behind is going to start really making life hard for you. And it's very easy in these situations to be looking in your mirrors. Bartkus is falling away very slightly from Ryan Ware, and Jasper getting larger and larger in his mirrors, although Jasper keeps just pushing a little bit too hard into these corners and going wide, which then brings Luis Fernandez to the back of him.
Is he going to try? He's going to try. Oh, slams into Jasper Eriksson. Eriksson breaking a little early, probably just trying to make the turn safely, and that takes...
a little tiny touch there, but nothing too crazy, as Luis Fernandez is still looking for it coming into this slow section. Not a very easy place to make it, so he's going to have to slot in behind, and they're bringing just slightly falling behind, but Bartkus not managing to pull a huge amount ahead and not managing to keep up with Ryan Ware.
Still has one more lap to try, but I think at this point the gap has gotten big enough that Bartkus just needs to have Ryan make a mistake to get back into the fight. Excuse me.
Yep, Chris McKenna is chasing down Harley Coleman at the same time, or Ed Turrell, sorry, at the same time, coming into the chicane now. We can hop back and forth between these 2 fights. Oh, that was a really bad exit there from Jasper Eriksson, and now Luis Fernandez is all over the back of him.
Yeah. Going to get quite a bit of a slipstream. That exit is very crucial on this track, but the AMG just proving to have that grunt out of the corner and still managing to stay ahead of Luis Fernandez into the heavy braking zone, also the trickiest braking zone on the track. Fernandez, they're getting a slightly faster entry.
Yeah, it's seeming like Fernandez consistently in these corners just has slightly better braking, so he needs to be wary of that, but can also use that to advantage if he gets the chance.
Into the final 2 corners, Fernandez, they're looking a little bit getting squirrely off the curbs. Jose Martins has a drive-through for track limits, as Fernandez looks down the inside a little bit of Eriksson, but decides better of it. This is also the final lap, so this is the last chance for any overtakes to happen. And I was going to comment, Jose's gotten the drive-through, and I'm expecting a lot of these drive-throughs to happen on the in the main race as well. It's very easy to just go over the curbs a bit too much in Misano and just get that drive-through.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, it's Luis Fernandez not even trying to stick to the track there. Yeah. Absolutely takes the corner off. He's clearly got some more warnings that he can take as he now dives down the inside into the hairpin. Has got it alongside, but is still holding on. He's going to have the bad side of the track for the next corner now. So they are still side by side, but slightly ahead is the Aston. There we go. There's the Merc having the better line and just pulling ahead again. Is the Aston going to manage to do the flip back? He's going to hit in beside, and now he's so close. He's going to be getting absolute maximum slipstream. Has to pull out early because he's right beside the Mercedes going into this first corner. He gets ahead, and unless the Mercedes can pull on quite a bit of extra pace, before diving in. Ooh, sort of looks at it there, but he was far too far behind to make that stick. And pulls out of it wisely before they make an incident together.
Yeah, Chris McKenna got quite close to Tyrrell there, further at the back, but couldn't quite get it to work as Ryan Ware crosses the start-finish line and wins the support race with Spartacus 0.6 seconds behind, and Luis Fernandes taking the third position, bottom step of the podium. A closer race than we anticipated. We thought Ryan was going to just fly off into the moon set, I guess, because there's no sun at the moment. But he was actually challenged and even lost a position almost to Spartacus a couple of times.
I'm not sure what happened there between these three drivers near the end of it. Very almost crashed there after the line as well. But all our drivers have made it, and now we are going to switch servers to get ready for the main event of today.
They're both off and follow the leader a little bit. What's going to happen is... Oh, what's going to happen here then? The back marker has held up. Not and boom. And where wins? Where wins it on the line, ladies and gentlemen? 4/1000th of a second.
No.
That drift, he kept it. Oh, there's carnage at the exit of the pit lane. There's 6 cars. He's being blocked by a tree. There's 6 cars on the exit of the straight.
Cantia goes for the dive, does not make it. Oh, and that's not a pass.
That's not a pass.
Oh, and we are back. We are now into the practice for our gold server for the Set a Corsa Competizione Sim Series. Hello and welcome to everyone in the chat. Thank you for being here. We'll hopefully get a very good race today. Judging by our last race, we could have a very nice competitive race, and judging by some of our earlier splits, we could have absolute carnage. And either one of them will be good fun. We have Boyle right now, who is in who set the fastest time in the practice server. The words I was looking for with a 1:33.4.
Very, very fast, honestly. It's quite interesting. Boyle has had quite a few practice topping moments and even qualified pretty well, but he just can't seem to turn that into a race win. So we'll be following him as he really learns to drive better with other people as the practice session finishes. And my cat wants to eat my camera, and you'll get to see him for a little bit. There we go.
Oh, we have kitty time. Kitty time is important.
We got.
There's a kitty cat trying to murder our co-commentator.
He was trying to murder. He was trying to tip over the camera.
Alvarado, who is in the lead so far of our event, has set an equally fast time, a 1:33. Only two of them managing to get into the 1:33s in our practice so far, with the fastest AM time being Ollie Moss.
As we go into qualifying, I believe Paul Greatrix is going to be the first one out this time, not Dan Terry.
Dan Terry didn't get out first for probably the first time in his entire ACCSS career.
There are also some grid penalties to be served. Apparently, Paul Krampf, Nathan Burnswood, and another person whose name... My cat, again, camera, please, cat. No.
So we still have the dark dart there as someone's going a little bit wide. So pretty nice aesthetics here. Good to see. Not quite the beauty of Kyalami in the night or Suzuka, but not bad. It's going to make it a little bit harder to tell between people's liveries, but we can manage.
We'll because so car 49 was the one person I was missing, I believe, who is still. Yeah, so we got Nathan Burnswood, Paul Krampf, and Joseph Cocking, who are going to be serving grid penalties this race. They are not going to be participating in qualifying. As we know, first 15 minutes are going to be for our red badges, our tier 2 drivers, and the next 15 minutes, the final 15 minutes, are going to be for our white badges, the pro drivers, the tier 1 drivers, and our invitational drivers, the silver badges. That's how our qualifying works here at ACCSS. Each tier gets their own 15 minutes to avoid crowding the track way too much.
Absolutely, and we can still see a few people getting into issues, as it is very easy to do in a qualifying like this, but much nicer with having the separate qualifying for each driver with these big grids that we have.
A few fights to look over in qualifying as we commence with the first few hot laps of our tier 2 drivers will be Nicholas Norberg and Ollie Moss, who are very close together, P2 and P3 in the championship for tier 2. Where they qualify is going to be quite important as we're getting into as they're going to be setting up their positions for the double pointer next week, which is going to be a 1-hour race at Imola, which is going to give us double points. So there's going to be 2 races. It's going to be a single race, much longer.
Yep, absolutely. And we are watching on board with Paul Gratix right now as he comes through the fast sweeping right-hander that we saw so much action through in our support race. This is the braking zone that Mihai was talking about. That's very hard. You sort of get immediately out of the fast right-hander and straight onto the brakes, but not too hard because you need to carry a load of speed into this second sector where the real braking zone is. So it's sort of a crazy multi-point braking zone as we come through the penultimate corner to finish the lap.
Ollie Moss setting up now his first hot lap. Trying to find space. This track is the second shortest track in the original game, I believe, which is going to make it quite tough for people to get space, even with the separate qualifying. We're going to see some impeding going on.
Absolutely, and you were talking about how easy it is to get those off tracks. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of people with invalid laps as well. We've seen most of our AM field have already crossed the line, and we only have those first 4 times on the board.
Thomas van Zanten currently convincingly in provisional pole with a 1:35.4, though I do believe those times will start going down as people start finding heat in their tires, getting the right pressures going, as practice was in much higher temperatures, so they'll need to adapt a little bit. And also, night driving is definitely something that you need to get used to a little bit. Like, lighting is different, your points of reference are going to be a little bit different as well, and the first few laps are definitely going to be a bit more scruffy, a little bit more, oh god, where the hell am I on the track, sort of experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if our guys haven't been practicing a lot in the dark, you sometimes need to even find entirely different braking points for some of these situations, as we're now getting a lot more times on the board, down to 8th position of all set times, within a couple seconds of our leader. We're still a couple seconds off the best time from practice.
Yeah, I do believe those times are going to start going down as drivers finish their banker laps and start truly pushing for those hot laps. You see, I think we've seen an invalid lap now from Jose Martinez because he's because he's the only blue badge I have on the map. So, difficult to do those.
Turns into the chicane.
Those hot laps, right? As we see a McLaren in the Jensen Button livery you were talking about that not that many people use. Well, we do have a new person now. Siachulis? I'm not going to bother. Anyway, the person, the car number 22, using the Jensen Button livery. Does look nice.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Fantastic liveries, and we've got to thank CJ Mack and his boys for coming over to say hi. Glad to see you enjoyed the GT4 race. We are now on to the main race. It's the gold split, the top level of competition in our rookie league. Right now we have the AM qualifying, and at the end of the first 15 minutes of this qualifying session, we will have the pros going out, and they're the ones who are battling to try and get banned from our series for being too fast.
So, because I forgot, but yeah, he did tell us this. Nicholas Norberg is not actually participating because he does have an injured arm, I believe, and he decided to sit this race out. So it's going to be an open season for Ollie Moss to gain the second position in the championship for Tier 2.
Nicholas Norberg?
Yeah, I believe he is... No, he's here. Oh, okay. I thought he said he was going to sit out. Yeah, but I found him. Got him.
It's slightly confusing. But Thomas van Zanten has improved his time. He is now down into a 1:34. Robert McGregor just put himself up there, and there's Ollie Moss. Oh, and Thomas van Zanten snatches it back. So huge swarm of improvements from these top 4 guys. Paul Greytrix also putting a time right up there, right near this point of qualifying. And everywhere I see on my timing screen right now is just green. Green for improvements that we are seeing throughout this field.
People have adjusted to the dark, to the colder conditions. They found their groove. They got heat in their tires. Now they're ready to push. So we're going to see these times tumbling down.
To the Jose Martinez in the Jack-coloured Bentley, making a large improvement coming through the last couple of corners now. Could jump pretty hugely up the table.
Did Zanten just lose it, or did he stop? I just saw him on the grass in a pretty uncompromising position.
Up to 8th position for Jose Martinez. A lot of the drivers, not just Thomas Van Zandt and Ollie Moss, also in the pits, and a lot of the top drivers not improving down the bottom half of this, but still getting a lot of people coming in with better times.
Yeah, we're also seeing a few people quite close. Jose Martins here might end up impeding Lewis Hawkins a little bit. Let's hope they're going to be polite about it.
Yeah, I think it might be smart for Hawkins to back out of this here because he is on a flying lap, but he's a couple of tenths behind, and so it might be nice to just slow down a little bit and get yourself a better chance for your next lap.
He didn't back out, I think, but I think it is best for him to just maybe even go back to the pits, put on a fresh set of boots, and try to come out into more clear air.
Yep, still got 6 minutes to go, so still plenty of time to do a couple of laps. As we have said, this is one of the shortest races that we have, one of the shortest tracks that we have, so you can get a few laps in.
There are a lot more chances for you to get that good lap to string all of these corners together. But at the same time, it is quite difficult to get a valid lap, so it's quite balanced here as we see Hawkins have a bit of a initial D-style corner coming over the line. I don't think he's improved at all. Yeah, he hasn't. Julian Strasser needs to improve though. He's all the way back down in P16, the slowest currently of the AMSAB set time.
But he is improving. He is right now almost a second ahead of his last lap time. He's losing a little bit on these last couple of corners, but he's still going to do a big jump up the field, even though all the cars in front of him are improving as well. Dan Terry just improved slightly, but stays in 15th place. Here's Julian Strasser coming across the line. He's going to get a big jump up to 12th. Much more competitive time. Kaiser Ransky as well, who was right back there with them in the total liveried BMW, also gaining over half a second on his time. If he can keep it a little bit wide there, throw some of it away, but he's going to come over the line to jump at least Florian Sachs, if not more. Actually, I think these last three are quite a bit away, so probably just that one position as he comes over the line.
Fabian Poigne doing pretty well at this track, but you usually don't see him go up this far. Qualifying currently has an identical lap time to Ollie Moss, so both Ferraris lapping at the exact same pace.
Beautiful.
Pretty strong car here in the Italian tracks.
Ferrari's doing very well here. No curbs to throw them off. Quite a few fast corners and a lot of nice straights to roll through.
There are a lot of curbs, they're just flat.
Yeah, no big curbs. None of those sausages coming out here.
Those Zandvoort curbs. See a car on the grass. That was Jose Martinez. So he's going to abandon that lap. He does still have time to go for one more try. 18 minutes left in the whole session, so about 3.5 minutes left for the AM drivers, about 1 minute 30 seconds per lap. So he does have time to go again if he goes out now.
Krasaransky and Dan Terry, the only two drivers up on their time right now. Dan Terry just losing quite a bit of it. Not sure what corner that was in. Dan Terry up in 15th place.
Nicholas Norberg, they're going up to 6th. He was in 10th before, so going up the order, still needs to get a good lap and try to make up those 4 or so tenths difference between him and Ollie Moss.
Kaiser just slight by slight improving his time here at the bottom. Will jump both Dan Terry and Florian Sachs, having their own little battle at the end, but Florian Sachs in the mighty Nissan is also on a run to improve his time now.
Ollie Moss crossing the line now. This should be the final lap he can do. No, he can do 2 more, actually.
Yep, he can
do 1 more, yeah.
Get some more in. They are still allowed to complete their time as long as they cross the start line before the 15-minute mark, when the pro drivers will start to leave the pits.
wonder, given the track is so short, if the pro drivers might catch a little bit of traffic on their outlaps. I don't think so, but you never know.
Yeah, we should be able to keep it fast enough, but some of our last AM drivers might have to get off of the track and back into the pits as soon as possible after they have finished our last lap. As we are now watching the Jenson Button liveried McLaren. Was just above time, but has fallen out of it. Florian Sachs, Diego Szymanski, and Nicholas Norberg, the only 3 drivers who seem to really be improving on their time now, although Mindaugas has improved in this last sector. This last sector has been absolutely fantastic for him comparatively to before. So he's going to jump up actually quite a lot as well, because he's right at the back of this really tight pack going up to about the middle of the field, and he's now into 12th position.
I mean, you say 12th position doesn't look that good, but if you think about it, this is very close qualifying. You got the top 12. They're all within 8.5 tenths, which is pretty damn good. There are a lot of less than 1/10 differences right now in lap times.
Yep, and all of those 12 top places are within a second of the pole position so far for our AM drivers at least. And remember that points go down to 15th position in the race. So almost everyone in the AM drivers will be scoring some amount of points.
Yep, Dan Terry not having the best qualifying of his life. He's going to end up being plumb last in the AM category, as he is no longer going out for another lap.
So this is going to be a reasonable improvement to Florian's time. Unfortunately, he'll probably only be able to jump Julian. He's now improved the number of people within a second.
Oh, Sachs. Yeah, Sachs is now off the track. Yes, P13 now. Yes,
Yep.
Less than a second behind pole. That was that, as the 15 minutes for the AM class are up. Now everybody who's still running. This is their last lap as the pro drivers dive onto the track.
Yep, absolutely. So, last chance for a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys are putting it to use. We can see multiple drivers who are improving their lap times as we head around to it. Trying to find some of them on the field, but none of them here doing a huge amount. Paul Greatrick's going to be the first one to come through, I think, to really improve his time. Actually, Ollie Moss just ahead of him that we can see there in the Ferrari ahead. He's going to jump up a little bit. He's now taken pole as well by 3 tenths. Huge amount by there. Greatrix jumps up to third. Lewis Hawkins now coming around to improve his time as well. Andy Thorpe does get an improvement, but not a position out of it. And this could be a couple of positions made for Lewis Hawkins in the last part of it as well, up to 4th position.
We were following Ollie Moss and Norberg, as I was saying, but this is a fantastic qualifying result for Paul Greatrix, who has been consistently struggling since joining Gold. Qualifying P3, this is by far his best qualifying session to date in Gold Split. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, we see those bottom 3 drivers there, Burnswood, Crampton and Cocking, who have been disqualified from the session as they are not allowed to complete their lap due to penalties from before. And we're going to sit on board with Sam Teague in his pink Aston Martin, who is the second car on track. He's following, I believe that's Steve Hughes in the Art Car BMW. Steve Hughes, one of our invitational drivers, and so they are not involved in the championship and are just racing here to give a little more competition to our guys who are competing. That's actually Ashley Blumfield in the number 10 car.
We've one thing to note is that our invitational drivers and Jack Harvey, I believe, they've been participating in the 12 hours of Bathurst, so they're all quite tired at the moment.
Yes, however, unfortunately, they had a disconnect, and the team features in ACC being as they were unable to continue the race. So they've actually had quite a break. Been watching the exciting F1 race recently, so that's been pretty good.
I see. So they had the an ACC mechanical failure. Let's call it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
See, we had Menno de Ridder had a fantastic race last time, winning. I believe he won both rounds, did he not? On Barcelona, so only one win away from being. He's only fourth in the championship, even after those two back-to-back wins. So as we were saying, he was one of the people who we were talking about perhaps getting banned this season. And as he was starting to fall back and hope for him to get into the top 3, it was sort of fading. He just goes in, does back-to-back wins. So he's also somebody to look at, see if he can get that third win or at least a pole position here. Alvarado does his banker lap, puts him up to P8.
It should also be pointed out, I just had to go and check this as you were speaking there. Menno de Ridder is already banned.
Oh.
Because he won both races last week, and he won a race the prior season as well. So that puts him over the total of 3 races won. So congratulations, Menno de Ridder. He is allowed to finish off the rest of the season and can still go for that top 3. But he is already banned.
So this is 3 races at all in Tier 1, not in a season.
Yeah. Jonathan O'Reilly, with 2 wins under his belt, is also 1 race away from being banned. Ollie Henley and Nicholas Alvarado taking the other 2 wins.
Nicholas Alvarado there, while he didn't have that many wins, he has been consistently finishing the top positions. Therefore, he is actually leading the Tier 1 championship with Riley behind him, and I believe it's Ollie Henley who's very close as well. Yes. Yeah. As our top 3 battle currently in the championship. Maciej Markowski is leading the invitational split, but he isn't here, so he's probably going to be losing that lead.
Yep, Steve Hughes in second there. Gonna take there, but the invitational points are a little bit crazy, seeing as they get the top 4 points every time they race, and
I mean, it's just different tier because they don't actually technically they shouldn't be getting any points, but that's not how the platform
SGP works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hopefully, we will get it at one point in the way I want to get it, but we need some back end stuff done on SGP first. And until then, we can see that some of our drivers, Nick Alvarado, who are just watching, Jack Winter, who are watching now, and Ollie Henley, are getting decent positions. They're all up in the top 10 already.
Yeah.
Always takes a few laps for a lot of our pro drivers to get strongly within the top scorers of the AMs.
They're just getting settled, just like the AMs did. It took a while for them to go down to the low 34s, so that's what I'm looking forward to seeing our pros as well, as I'm looking at Jack Winter in that F1 McLaren livery.
John McDonald, 33.9. Huge lap from John McDonald. Puts himself on provisional pole. And,
Bentley is quite good here, is it not? Yeah, it does look like it. We did have quite a few Bentleys who are higher than you'd expect them to be.
It would make sense. They're going to be quite stable in that first sector and quite good, reasonably good on the straights. Not too good when they get really long, but very stable in those fast corners.
Also got a bit of a interesting rivalry for me between. It's mostly because they're both in McLarens, and I have raced with Jack Winter before, but I am quite invested in their little battle here. Jack Winter currently in P9. And Benjamin Oria in P13 in the qualifying, not currently lighting up the sheets, but the timing sheets, but we'll see as they get more comfortable with the cars here on this track.
Ollie Henley there must have made a big mistake, because going into the last couple of corners, he was looking really strong, but he's lost all of his time now. It seems like he got taken out by that tricky braking zone at the end of the straights that you were talking about before. Victor Janba, who should give a shout out to, back in his Audi that he drove in his original season with us. He is up to 4th position in the qualifying so far. He's done very well overall, especially in qualifying in the last 2 seasons. Hasn't managed to keep it up as much in the races, but has been getting more consistent, which is really nice to see.
Nicholas Alvarado currently on provisional pole with a 1:33.6. So getting close to those daytime practice lap times that we were seeing. There we John McDonald's 3/10 behind in the Bentley, and Menno de Ridder in P3 as well, all going ahead of Ollie Moss. So we do have a tier 1.
We also have Arno Storms, Carlos Bandera, and Max Diggs at the back of the grid, who have all failed to set a lap time so far. Although, as I said, Max Diggs does. But we still have 2 drivers yet to complete a successful lap. Justin Clark is about to get a big improvement on his pretty slow time so far and hop up to 16th.
Yeah, as I said, some of them might be just struggling to get that those valid laps in. Very easy to just go a little bit overboard.
Ollie Henley now, almost a second up on his time as well, and he's only just over a second behind the leaders, although I think that was it. Yeah, he went too wide there on the last corner. That could have been him jumping right up to the top of the table, but he's managed to bin it there at a place it's very easy to do so. That is the most frustrating thing I found about doing laps here myself, is that you always tend to lose it going wide on that last corner, at least from my experience.
Yeah, it's even worse if you're almost a second up and it just goes red. It's like that. Oh,
absolutely. You saw him immediately bin it there, and he's going back to the pits to try and get some new tyres for one last go at this.
One of those corners where if you want to take it quickly, you do have to just clobber the curbs, and it's so easy to touch a sausage curb. Just go way too wide.
Here's Max Diggs. He was one of the last drivers to set a single lap time, but put a pretty reasonable one in now, and is going to hop up a few more places with this improvement that he's just made to it. Hopefully. Oh no, his lap was invalidated again. So still struggling to put it on, but up in 23rd is not too bad.
I'm seeing a lot of blue pips on the map. They're either out laps or invalid laps.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have gone back for more tyres, and a lot of people obviously setting those invalid laps. Mike Doherty as well. Fitting, as we just come from Max Diggs, and these were the first 2 American drivers we had. We used to have them as the American rivalry in Season 1. But Doherty now coming in for a huge improvement to this lowly qualifying time he's had so far. As long as he can keep it. Oh, he did look like he went all wheels off there.
Nicholas Alvarado still actually improving now, down to a 33.5. So not resting on his laurels and just making sure he keeps that pole position.
Yeah, we've seen a ton of people make huge improvements at the end of these splits. Joe Boyle there going quite wide as well, but makes the improvement and up into 5th in his Bentley. That's a great jump there. That was a whole second improvement as we now watch Leonard Schungel coming around the end of the track in his Porsche. I haven't seen many Porsches in the Pro Split, sadly.
It's a definitely tricky car to drive, so a lot of people do avoid it if they want to stay consistent. As where is Riley? I can't see him on the timing sheets anywhere.
Yeah, I do not see him either.
That's not good for his position in the championship. He's probably going to get overtaken here by Ollie Henley, who's currently not having the best qualifying session. Not only is he in P50 at the moment, but he is stuck behind a much slower Arno Storms, I believe. Yep. They're both on their hot laps. So not a very good position to be in right now for Ollie Henley. He doesn't have that much time to rescue his qualifying efforts. Needs to find some space, maybe get past Arno somehow. And he only has 2 laps left to do something.
Here's Jack Harvey now crossing the board and up to 16th. John Dudley going to be just behind him, also making a similar improvement down from a similar position. 25th so far. He's going to be half a second up. This big improvement should jump him up unless he has invalidated that lap time. Jack Harvey going for it again, improving his time in the first sector, so possibly we can see him go for one more jump up the board.
I'm quite curious. We haven't actually managed to see any drive-throughs for track limits yet in Gold Split, as far as I remember.
Feel like we must have, but I don't specifically remember any occasions.
We have had one for collisions, which was something I've never seen before in any split. But Well, yeah, because I think that might.
Shane Thomas now hopping into the server a little bit late, but jumping up to 12th.
I did see him around a little bit before, but I just don't think he was. Might have had some technical issues and didn't come out.
Yeah.
As he does decide to inspect the barrier, make sure it's fit for purpose.
Good stuff. We need everything to be nice and tested. Yeah, looking at the Invitational guys, Blumfield and Hughes clearly still struggling a little bit with that BMW, far behind Shane Thomas, and they, in cars that they're more used to, would likely be very much on the same pace as Shane. Shane is also in a new car, but McLaren clearly a lot easier to get the handle on than the BMW.
It also might be at this track just might not favor the BMW too much. Those corners might not be its
It will
cup of tea,
definitely have a bad first section, yeah.
And while the McLaren isn't that good in the first section, it does have a hell of a lot of downforce, which does help it in those medium speed areas.
Oh, Ollie Henley again. Gonna invalidate that lap time. That's definitely not going to be an improvement, and so he is on his last chance.
Yeah. Very, very. This would be his worst qualifying result of the season, I believe. Joe Boyle there, actually, as we were talking, he does manage to get that free practice times that he was having and convert those into qualifying times. As he is 1/10 behind Nicolas Alvarado in P2 at the moment. Oh, that is definitely not going to be a valid lap, so he's staying there. He does bail on that lap, so P2 is going to be the best he's going to do. As Nicolas does keep going, maybe trying to get an improvement. I don't know if he is improving.
Yep, the time is about to come down, so these are some of our last drivers who are able to set an improvement.
Nicolas Alvarado now going through the final corner. Let's see if he will improve or not. I don't think so, because he most probably invalidated his lap there. Yep, he goes on the grass, decides to eat some wall to make sure his car is well fed, and goes back to the pits.
Mano Doreda coming across with a final minute lap as well. Trying to catch much more of these. Ollie Henley is on for an improvement. A little bit slow for that last corner, but we've seen him invalidate that twice, so it makes sense for him to be safe up to 6th position.
6th position, much better for him now.
Could have been much closer to Alvarado if he'd managed those early laps, but he at least gets something good in there, so he can start reasonably close to the start. Next driver who is improving his lap time does seem to be Benjamin Hurriot.
Benjamin Hurriot, the top McLaren at the moment in P13, so still not the best track for the McLaren, must admit.
He's coming through with a big improvement though, so he's going to be right up near the top after this lap, as long as it is valid, which it is.
P5, yeah.
5th position, really nice lap there from Benjamin Hurriot.
Golden McLaren.
Welcome back. And that was a little look at what we do here at ACCSS. If you are new, sign up to head into our Discord. This is the penultimate round of the gold split, and Nicolas Alvarado, the keyboard and mouse king, recently moved to wheels, is on pole ahead of Joe Boyle. Mano Dorida and John McDonnell making it a Bentley lockout for the second row and for third, fourth, and fifth. So that car really working well there. Benjamin Horiot, far ahead of any other McLaren, is in fifth position. Ollie Moss then in the Ferrari, fighting for the championship, as well as Ollie Henley, each fighting for the lead in their splits. And they are starting a little bit further back. Victor Janber in the Audi. Good qualifying from him there ahead of Van Zanten, who is fighting with Ollie Moss for that lead of amateur split ahead of Paul Greatox. Justin Clerk then the leading Lexus ahead of Hawkins in another Ferrari. Bloomfield in one of those art car BMWs ahead of Sam Teague, and then his rival Thomas. Thomas and Bloomfield obviously both in the invitational split ahead of Jack Winter and Fabian Piogne. McGregor, Hervey, and then Norberg in his lovely Swedish Ferrari. Thorpe, Geno in front of Hughes in the other BMW art car. Max Diggs, Carlos Bandera, and Szymanski. Dudley, Doherty, Martinez in his jack-coloured car. Our second McLaren driver, who Siausilis, we're going to have to work out his name as we go along, ahead of Florian Sachs in the Great Godzilla. Ashley Graylish, Leonard Schungel, Ainsbury Strasser, Joseph Zaransky, Dan Terry, Arno Storms, and Paul Krampf to finish out our grid.
Go on the formation lap now. So perfect timing.
Absolutely perfect. While we're on the formation lap, we are going to watch some highlights from Kyle Army 2.4 hours that we held early this year. And you join us again near the end of our formation lap. Short formation in Misano, and they're going 2 by 2, ready for the start. Nick Alvarado obviously leading them down to the line. Lots of Bentleys around the front.
Good track for them, this one, isn't it? As we're close to going green now, coming through the final corner.
Yeah, they should start settling on their speed soon. That Ferrari right at the front, very close to the back of Menno Dorida. Started to settle down a little bit now, but Menno Dorida does look like he's starting a little bit far back. A great start from Joe Boyle, who's positioned himself very aggressively on the start of his pit box. Is side by side of Alvarado still, so we see the rest of the rest of the field behind there. And we might need to have a look at a replay of some of the action further back. But you can see actually the BMW there of Bloomfield having some issues as well going into the first corner, going wide for Menno de Ridder, who's now going to get pushed on the side there by that Ferrari. Side by side going down towards the hairpin. It looks like Horia also wants a bit of this action. He's going to back out as there's no room there. And the Bentley manages just to hold its position.
To the hairpin, not the cleanest of corners now coming through. It does look like most of them has survived. But at the back, I think it was Martinez. He got plowed into the back. I don't know what happened. I just saw him at the... he's currently dead last, I think, now.
Do you want to have a check of the replay and then we can show it back when we have a little bit of... time, as we just saw Sam T going side by side, first with Lewis Hawkins and then with Ashley Bloomfield. He's managed to keep one of those positions, as we have a load of people fighting slightly further back.
I had a massive accident. I'm not sure exactly who it was.
We've got a lot of guys side by side here as we are fetching you that replay. This is further down the back of the field. You can see Daniel Terry there in his yellow and red Aston Martin. We're watching Roman Ainsbury right now going side by side with John Dudley and actually diving into the pits quite early on.
Oh, so it appears one of the Astons, I don't know who it was, misjudged his braking point and hit the back of...
Roll it back to beginning and we'll have a quick look on here. Here we go, this is a replay.
So as you see Jose here, as there's a pop, as the you see they plow into each other, missing the braking points. So the back just gets completely annihilated.
Nice. So unfortunate there, we saw one of the Jack Bentleys badly caught up in that. And as we get back to our main race, Joe Boyle is in the lead ahead of Nicholas Alvarado, taking a great jump on the start, with a couple of drivers going into the pits for damage. Menno de Ridder, John McDonald, Ollie Moss, Ollie Henley, Benjamin Horiot, Victor Janber, Thomas Van Zanten and Justin Clerk round out our top 10.
Yeah, there are also a few drive-throughs for starting too far ahead, but I didn't really see who it was. It was more into the midfield. So
yeah, I think it's some of those cars that we're just seeing on the mini-map there quite far back.
Yep.
So where are they? That's Diego Szymanski, Mike Doherty, Joseph Cocking and Nathan Burnswood.
Maybe
Cocking started from the pits, so he must have sped in the pits on his way out.
Yeah, maybe because Cocking did have a grid penalty. We're looking. There has been a few groups separating out now, because you have Lewis Hawkins leading a bit of a train in P12, and then everybody else is quite far ahead. As Jack Harvey's looking down the inside to turn 1, trying to take that P11 actually from Lewis Hawkins, as the timing screens update. Ollie Moss up into P5 now, so Horiot not having a great start, down to P7. The top 5, as there's a bit of yellow flag there, I think I see Geno and P24 off the track, so something must have happened there. He's going to fall down quite a little bit. I don't know if he spawned on his own or he got collected, but I do see
Lexus here.
Yeah.
Lexus of Jack Harvey going side by side with Lewis Hawkins, and he's actually just been tapped by Ashley Bloomfield into that corner as he tried to sort of come back on, and now he's getting pushed by the green Ferrari of Piogne and by Jack Winter, and he tapped Jack Winter as well and is around. Absolutely awful situation here for Lewis Hawkins, who is now trying to rejoin, but he's right on the racing line there, so he needs to travel on the grass a little bit to get to the point where the other car's going to go wider. He's now side by side with Leonard Schungel, going to try and desperately keep this position, but his tyres are going to be absolutely wrecked, and so he's going to have a hard time if he has to really go into any of these tricky corners. He's side by side and he can't get out of the way, so they're going through the fastest corner on the track like that. Just on the outside is Siautsilis.
That's a Greek name, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, we're going to have to work this out. Mindaugas is his first name, so Mindaugas letting him go there.
Okay, so he is Lithuanian, like Bartkus then, but yeah, I don't know.
And he is now side by side with Dan Terry as well. He's fallen a few places down the field. Dan Terry now about to go free wide almost with Ainsbury. Doesn't quite happen. Ainsbury and Dan can't quite keep up with the McLaren ahead of them.
See, Nicholas Alvarado and Joe Boyle are gapping the rest of the field. There's a 2-second gap now between Alvarado and Menado Ritter. Ollie Moss sticking to P5, having a pretty big advantage over Thomas Van Zanten all the way back in P9. For the back, we have Paul Greatrix. No, we are Fabio Pogne and Fabian Pogne and Ashley Bloomfield having a bit of a spat in P13 and P12. Though Ashley Bloomfield does seem to be on top of things as Piogni gets a bit squirrely over the curbs. You see a yellow flag further at the back with Mike Doherty, but he is on the track, so I think it was just a bit of a moment, nothing more.
Ed Turrell has said in chat that Joe Cocking was down as a grid penalty and it started him from the pits. I believe they start from the pits by not clicking drive, so yes. He was meant to start at the back and must have thought that he had a thing or just forgotten to click drive anyway, so has increased his penalty there, unfortunately.
He's penalized himself harder. Maybe as the race goes a bit more calm, I'm going to go back into the start and see how Alvarado managed to get overtaken by Joe Boyle, as Boyle is actually opening up a bit of a gap now.
Yeah, Joe Boyle was much more aggressive on his positioning within his box and got a really nice run down to turn 1.
Yep, as Horiot and Henley in P7 and P6 are definitely getting a little bit scrappy. Horiot looking down the inside a little bit in Sector 1, not managing to make it stick, but looks on the inside again in the hairpin, thinks better of it, and decides to follow the Bentley through, trying to get a better exit, but goes a bit wide on the curbs. Probably gonna, he does lose a little bit to Henley now. But though that bottom part of the top 10 still looking very racy. Paul Greatrix falling a little bit behind, now in P13. Piognier and Bloomfield, though, still close together, so we're gonna see that develop. The penalties are coming in, so Piognier did cause a collision at some point with some other car 69. That would have been. Oh, so Piognier managed to Sam Teague. Apparently, he has Teague the Teague.
Looks like we had a little bit of a crash around there in the back corner as well, but I couldn't quite see who it was. So we've had the middle of our order messed up a little bit more.
Jack Winter dropping into the pits very early. He might have had a bit of damage.
Yeah, everyone diving into pits now I would expect to have damage. There will be some people who are just doing it as a strategic thing, but getting the damage out of the way here is a nice and safe way to go.
So it does look like, as I was saying, the Lexus of Geno, who is car number 16, he did get into a scrap with car number 80. That was what happened. What made him go off the track. It's Ashley Graylish and Jose Martin. No, I think that's some. Oh, I think it's Graylish.
Lewis Hawkins here is racing with. It looks like, is that a back marker? That might actually be a back marker Mercedes who's just letting everyone by. There are a few back markers I've already seen who are getting lapped by people already. People who've taken damage early on, had to do DTs and the like.
Yeah, only Henley that was what was confusing me. Only Henley is now at the back of Ashley Graylish, who's in P38. So there's back markers involved in that fight in the middle of the top 10. Because Joe Boyle is just getting further and further away from Nicholas Alvarado, just opening up that gap. So Alvarado is going to have to perhaps think of that undercut opportunity.
This can definitely be an awkward thing about pitting early as well, is if you end up getting in the back of people.
P7 there, Benjamin Horiot was side by side with only Henley for a little bit, trying to go into turn 1, but again, thought better of it, just being careful not to cause an incident. Following that Bentley quite closely through Sector 1, as the Bentley is the superior car through that sector, McLaren having quite a bit of a difficulty taking those slow corners, but Horiot just staying on Ollie Henley, not letting him breathe.
Yeah, these guys still staying all clumped together, which is good to see.
We got Leonard Schungel and Sam Teague are also getting in a bit of a fight of their own. Sam Teague now in P20, Leonard Schungel in P21. So further down the field, there's a lot of these little duels going on. The track is short, so we're going to be seeing a lot of battles and a lot of backmarker lapping going on in the latter stages of the race.
Yeah, talking about that, we just saw this big fight here between Henley, Horiot, Clerk, and Harvey, all having to get past Florian Sachs in the Nissan, who is one of the unlucky people to be right at the back. Looks like he was caught up in that first lap chaos, as these guys are now coming on to start their 7th lap.
Ooh, Leonard Schungel going down the inside of Sam Teague in P21, staying side by side through the... I think that was in the first sector, I believe. No, in the third sector. Sorry, yeah. As Leonard Schungel does manage to get the overtake on Sam and goes up to P20.
Oh, there's a McLaren in the wall there. Who was that? That was number 18.
That was Jack Winter. Oh no.
Jack Winter, we're gonna have to have a look at that and see what it is. But it looks to me like he just came out of the last corner and got too much onto the curb and lost it. Here he is coming into the last corner. Onto the curb, yeah, went right over the edge, actually onto the grass to try and keep it straight, but loses it, trying to get back onto the track with the change that you get in your grip levels between those, and that has thrown him into the wall and out of the race.
That's just unlucky. Just died on his own, just a bit too hard over the curbs. And that McLaren is very, very sensitive to curbs. Speaking of McLaren, Dan Terry all over the back of a McLaren that has a different livery than what I was expecting. Oh, I think that's Paul Krampf. Yeah, he got overtaken, I believe, by Paul Krampf. Yeah, as Paul Krampf trying to move on the inside and managed to make it stick. Yeah, he does overtake for P21 on Mindaugas. You said Mindaugas fighting back though.
And Sam Teague's gone right off there in the background as well. These two side by side, Dan Terry and Sam Teague were behind, but I'm not sure if Sam Teague had any assistance there, but he's right off the track now and his car looks very battered.
Mindaugas managing to stay ahead going onto the start-finish line now. That was a fairly dangerous and exciting battle into that tricky braking zone out of the right-handers, as Justin Clerk and Benjamin Horiot now right next to each other. Benjamin starting to lag behind a little bit behind Ollie Henley, having to defend from Justin Clerk. Jack Harvey managing to get himself into the top 10 following Horiot and Clerk. Well, Antti Thorpe, who's been overtaken by 2 cars, I believe. No, just by 1 car in P14. Did look like he had a few issues, but that does move Max Diggs into P13 now, following chasing down Robert McGregor. At the back in P20, we still have this fight between Mindaugas and Paul Krampf side by side into the right-handers again, into that back straight that isn't quite a straight. Dan Terry following close behind, maybe gonna try to capitalize on this battle.
Absolutely, these two McLarens absolutely glued to each other right now. Krampf really looking for a way around Terry and Ainsbury close behind, and actually Strasser and Joseph not far off them either, so this is becoming its own little train like the one we've had further on, and the more these two McLarens battle, the more they're going to bring everyone behind them into this.
And speaking of that, while the Nicholas has been capped quite low by Joe Boyle, but Menno de Ridder is just starting to close that gap to Nicholas now. It's now down to under a second. So we might be seeing Nicholas struggling a little bit later in the race, though again, he hasn't pitted yet. And if I was him, I'd be thinking about not wasting my time defending from that clearly slightly faster Bentley.
Yeah, we've had a huge amount of people just go into the pits as we pass the halfway point in our race. So very likely to see some more people coming in soon, as right now we're watching Moss, who's just made a mistake side by side with Henley, I believe that is.
Really?
Side by side with McDonald, I think, actually. He might have made the overtake. Yeah, Henley is quite far behind them, so he just was the other way around. The Bentley was the one making the mistake.
No, Nicholas Alvarado has gone into the pits, trying to go for that undercut on Joe Boyle.
Beautiful. So that might make Joe Boyle want to think about coming in soon.
We'll see. We've seen how powerful undercuts are just in the... well, I'm not going to spoil it, actually. People who maybe haven't caught it yet. As in P17, we see quite a bit of a train behind Paul Cramp. Paul Cramp being in P15 now, he's gonna elect to go into the pits rather than fight Rowan Ainsbury for position. So what was shaping up to be a 4 wide ended up diffusing itself.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the sort of middle section of the race now with a little bit less, as we have a ton of people going into the pits, as we said. Sam Teagle battered Aston, looking pretty sad for itself.
Nicholas Alvarado now coming out of the pits. He's going to be around P12, P13 or so. Or 27. Who's that? He's got a big penalty right now. Why is Nathan Burnswood disqualified? Oh, did he get... Oh no. Wait, I think I might know why. It doesn't say here, but maybe... So there's this thing on Misano where in the first sector, if you go... Well, I'm going to say it later because Ashley Bloomfield, and that's a back marker. Yeah, never mind. Okay. So in the first sector, if you run wide through in the second corner and decide to take that escape road, you do end up sometimes getting disqualified for driving the wrong way on the track. It's very, very weird. Yes.
I see. Well, we have Joe Boyle now in the pits. If you could have a look at Joe Boyle and keep your eye on him so we can see this on screen. We can look where Nicholas Alvarado is. Nicholas Alvarado coming around the last couple of corners, but Joe Boyle is already on his way. He does have a long pit exit here, however, so we're going to see quite a while before he's up to speed. Alvarado coming around the second to last corner. Around the last corner, and is Joe at full speed yet? He is not
yet. Just coming up to the line now, I believe. Yep, he's just now accelerating out.
So now he's still got a little bit of time to catch up with Alvarado, and it looks like Alvarado just behind him. He was 25, yeah? Yeah, 25, so he's just behind him. Unfortunately, not able to make the undercut work, so nice work by Joe Boyle there, staying ahead.
Just behind him is actually 4.5 seconds difference, so Alvarado's actually lost out. Tried to go for the undercut, but Joe Boyle just had a very good in-lap and managed to actually increase his advantage. As we see that, we have quite a bit of a scrap at P13 and P10 with Victor Yamba. What is going on with my timing sheets? Victor Yamba and I believe Van Zanten
and Ashley Bloomfield. Yeah, and they're almost going 3 wide there into the hairpin. Van Zanten and Ashley Bloomfield have basically been 2 wide this whole time, side by side behind the Audi.
Seeing the final people to pit now. Jack Harvey, only Henley, Menno de Ritter, and Ollie Moss are all in the pit. So Julian Strasser is going to be the last one to pit. As we see more and more penalties coming out. Yeah, Sam Teague did get... So let's see. There's kart 240. That would be a car. But that is the car who caused all of that damage.
240?
Yeah.
That's Dan Terry.
Dan Terry, yeah. Dan Terry is going to get a penalty for fatigue bagging Sam Teague.
Ouch.
Yeah, so that was what happened to Sam. Not the most fortunate race there for Dan Terry, but he did manage to get quite far ahead before he got the penalty. He did start close to last.
Yeah, our timing is a little bit messed up right now, but it's starting to settle out, and it has confirmed that Menno de Ridder has managed to overcut Nicholas Alvarado. So Nicholas Alvarado's pit strategy really not working out for him. He has actually lost a whole position in that, as Menno de Ridder is now second in the race overall. John McDonald taking up 5th, and Ollie Moss in 6th, leading the AMs by quite a long way.
Yeah, there's a few scraps going on in the back of the field as Jose Martinez gets a bit of an effortless overtake on Florian Sachs for P27. Sachs with that 10-second penalty, so really more of a formality of an overtake. Further to the front, Fabian Pogne and Robert McGregor are side by side in the hairpin as Pogne manages to make the overtake stick and goes up to P18. Nicholas Norberg.
Victor Janber here also is right on the back of Jack Harvey and has been pretty aggressive there. Jack Harvey having to go defensive onto the main straight, both pushing it quite wide going into the last sector. And this is the fight for 9th position right now between the Audi and the Lexus, both leading out of their cars. Thomas Van Zandt and Ashley Bloomfield have fallen a little bit behind from Victor Janber since that little freeway battle they had.
Does seem that the BMW just isn't very comfortable here, as Victor is actually still on Jack Harvey, so that fight in the bottom of the top 10 is gonna last for a while. The rest of the top 10 though is pretty far apart. It's just that Alvarado is actually inching back into contention against Menno de Ridder, as Julian Strasser is still hasn't pitted. He only has one more lap, except for this one, to pit.
Here we go. Victor Janber side by side with Jack Harvey. He got a huge run out of the end of the first sector. It's inside for the hairpin there, side by side. But Jack Harvey, given enough space, not going to manage to do it. Is going to try and do a sort of cut round, but not going to be able to, because you can't get on the inside there, and so not going to be able to go around the long way. Victor Janber takes 9th position, leading onto the straight. There is a big slipstream for Lexus to try and get something back now, but Victor Janber's been consistently fast on this track, and so I'm not sure if Jack is going to manage to do it. And we'll see if Thomas Van Zanten can also catch up to the Lexus.
Outside of that, Thomas Van Zanten does need to get some position though, as Ollie Moss is kind of running away with this race for the AM class.
Yeah, Ollie Moss definitely looking like a strong contender to do well in the pro split next season.
If you say that, there are a few cars close together. They're still around P20. Paul Matrix involved. We're gonna see a few scraps there developing in these final 4 or so laps.
And as you were saying, Nicholas Alvarado just made a mistake lapping, but is catching Menno de Ridder definitely. So he's going to have to make back that time he just lost, but is getting close to being able to make a move.
Saying Joe Boyle, I don't think he's very far in the championship. He hasn't really come close to winning a race yet, by what I know. So even if Alvarado doesn't catch Joe, the one he actually wants to beat is Ollie Henley, as he goes very wide into the gravel there. Nicholas, I don't know what happened there, but he's all the way back behind the back marker now. So I don't think he has any hope of catching Menno de Ridder now.
Yeah, that might have put the nail in the coffin for taking that up now. You were talking about it. He is ahead of Ollie Henley, which, as you said, is the important thing. Joe Boyle down in 9th position in the championship overall. This is going to be a nice points haul to throw him up the order.
Oh man, Julian Strasser just got a drive through. I think he was speeding in the pits.
Oh, that's very unfortunate.
Yep. he had a really poor qualifying, managed to get up to P27. So not a bad race at all, but just completely ruined by that drive-through. So
Yeah, he made a lot of
unfortunate.
positions up in this race, so if he hadn't got that drive-through, it would have been pretty good for him.
Yeah, and races like this, we have had quite a few incidents as we now see penalties coming up for car 88. Arno Storms is already in last place, so these are more of a formality. Maybe, I was saying, because we did see Alvarado. Oh, as we see behind Julian, Florian Sachs, and I think.
Yeah, I think that's. Is that Sachs being lapped or no? That is Sachs being legitimately overtaken by Dan Terry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, very nicely done by Dan Terry. They are actually, since they both have 10 seconds penalty, that is an actual overtake for position. As Benjamin Horiot and only Henley now are getting very close to each other. As I saw,
that's car 88. Yeah, the back marker, unfortunately, off the track.
So I think that's his race done. As Benjamin Horiot now coming into, I believe this is the final sector. Yeah, yep. Very close to Ollie Henley now. Ollie Henley, the only Henley.
And just behind them, Victor Janber is starting to manage to gap Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey has been keeping the pressure on him after that overtake for quite a while, but it looks like Victor Janber's just slightly managing to pull away. You can see there Jack Harvey pushing a little bit too hard to keep up.
Say that, if you remember that fight between Paul Cramp and... that rejoin. Oh no, Paul Cramp has been... Well, he turned into a fidget spinner. He got killed by he was in P34, now in the pits. He wasn't really rejoining, right? He went into the wall because he missed a corner. And then other cars were missing the corner and going wide.
He actually tapped the side of the BMW. I'm just in the replay watching him. He tapped the side of the BMW, then comes back onto the edge of the track, and a big hit there is going to really wreck his day.
I don't even think that was his fault. Like, you wouldn't expect cars to go wide there, really.
I can see what you mean. I can see what you mean, but I think the stewards might see that slightly differently. He did back up right to the exit curb. So just a little bit too far. I think what he was doing was right. He just didn't stop quite soon enough. So you're watching Joseph Cocking having a go here at Zoransky in the BMW. Not going to manage to make it there.
Benjamin Horiot and Ollie Henley still in that fight. None of them is budging. This is basically the same gap, 0.4 seconds as before, coming into the start-finish straight again.
Jack Harvey keeping the pressure on Victor Janber as well. I was just talking about how he's pulling out the gap, and Jack Harvey's right back on him, hitting the curve really badly there, but managing to just sail over it in the very stable Lexus.
Eats a bit of sausage, needs that energy to get overtaken.
Yeah, that would have been death for a few of the cars on the grid. The McLaren, the Ferrari, and probably this Audi as well would have been absolutely murdered by that curve, but the Lexus powers on through. Probably going to have picked up a track warning for that, but he hasn't got a DT, so he still has some left.
Ollie Henley and Horiot, they're getting side by side in the first sector for a little bit, but Horiot getting a bit of oversteer over the curves, letting Ollie go back ahead, coming into the hairpin. It's quite interesting how the Bentley can stay ahead of the McLaren in that straight line. Definitely unexpected in my opinion. Nicholas Alvarado now 0.6 seconds behind Memo de Ridder. De Ridder must have made a bit of a mistake, as they might be getting another lap.
Oh, and talking of mistakes.
Yeah, that lets Alvarado go up into P2.
So Alvarado has the position back and has been consistently faster, so he's going to start pulling away. If you look back at that fight between Ollie Henley and Ollie Moss.
And something happened with Justin Clerk. He went off the track in the hairpin in the middle of the track, halfway through the track.
He's absolutely fallen down the order there.
This is the final lap. Joe Boyle comfortably in the lead, 3.4 second lead, coming into the first sector, I believe. Yeah, he's in the first sector now. Ollie Henley and Benjamin Horiot also starting their final lap. So Benjamin needs to make something happen as they're coming up to a back marker. And yeah, as you were saying, Krampf did get, I believe, no? No, he didn't get a penalty for that.
Yeah, they may not have got to that point yet. Oh, as Benjamin Horiot makes a mistake there, going really wide through the end of the first sector, and he's fallen big back from Ollie Henley, flashing his lights to try and call to his friend in front, but nothing going to happen there.
Final fight here in P18. John Dudley on the inside of Robert McGregor, I believe, or is that... No, that's Paul Greattricks and John Dudley having a fight there. Paul Greattricks doing a overtake on the inside of John Dudley in the first sector, then runs wide onto the second straight now, giving John Dudley some time to fight back. Coming into the hairpin now, P19 and P18. This is the fight. So this is a midfield fight here in the final stages of the race. As we see Joe Boyle finishing the race, winning the first race of the night. Nicholas Alvarado in second place. Murdo de Ritter ends up in third place. John McDonald fourth. Ollie Moss takes the AM victory in P5. Ollie Henley now coming to the last corner, a little bit further behind, take P6. Benjamin Horiot P7. Victor Yamba P8. Immediately followed by Jack Harvey and Thomas Van Zanten to round out the top 10. Not a race win by Nicholas Alvarado, but definitely a very good thing for his lead in the championship.
Yeah, he's definitely keeping himself looking like he's going to win, as we're going to catch him at the last few battles. Coming across the line, Dan Terry being chased down by Diego Szymanski in his BMW.
Ollie Moss having a fantastic race there, finishing P5 for against Thomas Van Zanten, getting closer and closer. And I think he was going to overtake. I think it was in P3, right? Or Norberg was in P3. I don't remember now.
Ollie Moss is in P3, yeah.
Yeah, so he might actually overtake Norberg because Norberg finished fourth in his tier behind Andy Thorpe.
And his Graylish Doherty and Cocking, the last couple coming in. Teague actually looks to have binned it on the last lap, is in the wall over there. Very sad situation for him.
Let's have Rowan Ainsbury with a 30-second penalty.
He was still accelerating as well, so it looked like he had some sort of issue. Or perhaps rage quit and just like unplugged his wheel. Either one of those is possible.
So yeah, Rowan Ainsbury probably had a drive-through for limits and couldn't take the penalty because it was the last lap. So that's a 30-second penalty for him, putting him all the way in. Actually, still in P35 because everybody else has stopped. Yeah, so no, this Paul Cramp, that rejoin, right, where he got spun, it was classified as a racing incident. So yeah, he couldn't really expect somebody to go that wide.
Yeah, fair enough. The other car that hit him did go wide, so that is reasonable. As we get to the end of our first race, overall, Joe Boyle is coming out with the win. Nicholas Alvarado in second, Menno de Ridder in third position. Ollie Moss is leading the AMS. Who were you most impressed with in that race, Mihai, as we can start getting our driver of the day votes going? If you'd like to put P and then the number of the driver that you want to vote for in the chat, we can get that going.
Honestly, I would say Ollie Henley, because he was under pressure from Horiot most of the race. It's a relentless pressure, and he just drove the race, controlled it at the front very cleanly, and didn't end up making a mistake. It was Benjamin who did it. So very good controlled race by him. And of course, congratulations to Joe Boyle for his first race win. So those are my drivers of this race. At least we'll see in the second race. Well, this is good.
Absolutely. We've got a vote in for P5. Ollie Moss winning the AM split, and pretty dominant performance as well.
quite a few incidents this race, especially at. I think we had. Let's look. We had 33 incidents. So actually, it was slightly cleaner than the silver race, which had I think 38. And much cleaner than the bronze race, which had 101.
Oh, yeah, the bronze race definitely not doing well. As thank you for your votes in chat, my friends. The driver of the day will be going to Ollie Moss for that fantastic P6 drive overall, P1 in the AMS. Definitely look like he's going to be able to fight quite well in the pro split next season, as he's making a strong case for himself in Tier 2. Himself, Thomas van Zandt and Nicholas Norberg, the 3 highest places in there as well. Thomas van Zandt down in 9th, but 2nd position for his split. Also looking like he's going to be a shoo-in for that extra position. Joe Boyle winning means that we will not have anyone else banned quite yet. But there's still the possibility of that coming. Menno de Ridder came 3rd overall, and if he wins the race, he will get banned.
Didn't you say he was already banned?
He is. That's a good point, actually.
So actually, there's no real danger of anybody.
There is no real danger now,
because it's just Nicholas who has 1 win. So.
Yeah, Alvarado can't win both, and Jonathan Riley's not here.
Yep.
So as our start gets on our way, we'll get some highlights from our last race at Misano.
Bring the smell of rain into my bed and lie so close to me. You could be inside my head. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing to feel the kind of magic that your love brings. Someday
And we're back for the second race of the Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim Series Gold Split at Misano, our penultimate round. We're about to go green. Let's see if Nicholas Alvarado can have a better start this time and hold his position from Joe Boyle. He seems to be positioned better, although the Bentley of John McDonald behind them is very much not. He is hugely behind where he could be starting. And another time that it looks like Alvarado might be about to lose his position on the start, but he's got it in the second corner. We now have two Bentleys side by side behind them. Bentley scrapping like hell, but Nicholas Alvarado has held it really wide. There goes the black and purple Bentley of, I believe, that is John McDonald. And even the Ferrari of Ollie Moss has gotten past him now.
There were some deaths, but there are single cars have managed to die. So I think Max Diggs is gone now. Yep, Max Diggs and Dan Terry are both side by side, plumb last. So something must have happened there. They were just them dying, though. And Nathan Burnswood has elected not to drive, as this time Nicholas Alvarado is keeping that first position.
Yeah, absolutely. As our timing should have settled down, you can see Alvarado in the lead ahead of Joe Boyle, although Joe Boyle very close to him. Actually looking like he's going for the move here, trying to get on the inside of this incredibly fast corner coming up, and he has managed to. Alvarado is going to try and stick around the outside, but that is not looking like it's hugely likely to pull off. The Bentley is still in the middle, pushes Alvarado quite wide, a little bit of dirty stuff there on his tyres, and he's going to slot in behind the Bentley, who still manages to be ahead by the end of the first lap.
Oh, we have a spinning... Yeah, Mindaugas has spun in P28, and there's another car next to him who's also died. I think that was an Audi. So that was an Audi. That was Paul Joseph. Yeah, he's also gone, I believe. Yep. I'm not exactly sure what happened or if they had contact. There is a incident with car 22. So I do think, yeah, with car 22 and car 112. So that's probably what happened.
Our first four still staying pretty close here, having a nice little battle. And both of these two individual battles coming together as we start to head around to the hairpin. Interesting to see if any of them can make moves against each other. It doesn't seem like Nicholas Alvarado overall has had the speed to take on Joe Boyle.
We got Shane Thomas and Jack Harvey side by side, B12 and P13. Thomas down the outside of the hairpin. Harvey managing to stick on the inside, keeping his position just barely, but it's not going to be on the outside of the left hand of the right hander. Still side by side going through it, but Shane Thomas manages to just eke out ahead now, but Jack Harvey fighting back, getting that slipstream.
Yeah, Shane Thomas had to go defensive there, and now Jack Harvey is coming around the outside with the extra speed, but the outside, as we saw from Nicholas Alvarado, is not always the place to be, and he goes wide really far onto the marbles. Manages to get it stopped for the corner and is still right behind Shane Thomas, but it's going to have to brush some of that off of his tyres.
Fabian Piogni has had an incident at the end of in that tricky braking zone. Was also out off the track. He was P15, now fallen way back down the order. So very, very bad race for Fabian. Paul Greatrix in P14 at the moment, right behind Jack Harvey. So Harvey got really pushed back by that fight with Shane Thomas, as we're getting the first few penalties coming in. Car 36, Zaharansky, he had a collision. I don't see with who. 27. Hmm.
27 is Rowan Ainsbury.
Okay, I did see him on the outside of the track at one point, so I guess that's what happened. As we see, there's another yellow
Shane
flag.
Thomas.
Shane Thomas, yeah. What happened to him? There goes Shane's race. No, but there is an incident involving Paul Greatrix on steward sheet. It isn't with Shane, though. Yeah, we see Jack Harvey going underground and disappearing.
Right there is a internet connection error if I've ever seen one. So he gets sent by his hardware into the Shadow Realm, never to be seen again until next week, where he can hopefully get back for Imola.
Yes, has gone to his underground lair to prepare for Imola, as we see Paul Graytrix getting a drive-through, probably already for track limits. So we've seen a drive-through for track limits. Finally, as Benjamin Oria, Joe McDonnell, and Ollie Henley are right up against each other.
And Alvarado's just made a move for the lead. He just dived into the one real overtaking opportunity in the first sector, and he's got around Joe Boyle. So Joe Boyle now on the back foot, but we've seen him make the move consistently, and he's had incredible pace. Alvarado with the fastest lap this race so far. Can he manage to pull this one out and get his second win?
Meanwhile, we had a bit of a scrap between Steve Hughes and Andy Thorpe further at the back. Steve Hughes in P13 now, following Norberg. Actually, no, he's in P14. Thorpe didn't manage to overtake him. It's just timing hasn't updated yet.
Joe Boyle looking for it, yeah. That was real close. He was sticking his nose in there, but that's not a place that you're going to make it, and he has to sit back in. All of these little goes, letting Derrida come right up behind them.
I mean, those little goals, maybe he's just trying to get Nicholas to be a little bit more unsettled, but Alvarado is quite the experienced driver, so it's going to be quite difficult to force him to look into his mirror instead of where he's going. As Lewis Hawkins is just inching closer and closer to Ashley Bloomfield, looking for that bottom step at the top 10.
I hope everyone on stream heard the same thing I just heard from my game. That was very strange. It sounded like a firework going off, and then everything went quiet for a little bit. But we're back. We're fine. Nothing happened. That was scary. I thought everything had broken. But Leonard Shungle now fighting with Dudley. These guys are pretty close.
Oh, we see somebody in the wall. Oh no, that was Ollie Moss. Ollie Moss has gone into the wall from P4. Heavy damage. He's going to need to pit that car and repair it very quickly, as Thomas Van Zanten is going to get closer and closer. Actually, not closer and closer. He's already overtaken him. Oh, what happened to Ollie? Oh, his car is just completely destroyed. If you don't mind, I'm gonna try to see what happened to Ollie.
Absolutely, you could do that, as we have two side-by-sides here. Leonard Shungle was almost side-by-side with Dudley there behind him, and Bandera even getting a little tap, it looks like, from Gino, as Leonard Shungle looking for the inside there, but that's actually put him just slightly offline for Dudley, who is now challenging him again.
So unfortunate. Ollie Moss in the at the end of sector 1, there's that fast left-hander, and he goes over the curb, as you said, with the Ferraris and those sausage curves, just bounces up in the air and goes into the wall. Yeah, I'm just gonna show it again. Show it again. There we go. From this angle, as he just bounces over these and just right into the wall. Unfortunately, on his own, that was not caused by anyone.
Yep, shows you the differences in some of these cars, as our leaders just coming out there in front of a load of people exiting the pits. The pit window have open, so once again, everyone with damage has dived in there to try and get that fixed as much as possible. Nicholas Alvarado still leading from Joe Boyle and Menno Derrida.
Yep, Steve Hughes and Andy Thorpe now fighting for that P10 with Max. That's Max Diggs. Yeah, but he's a back marker. Very close to each other. No, sorry, that was...
Yeah, there's a couple of back markers getting involved here now. As we said, the first people to pit have pit, and this is such a short track that immediately upon pitting, they are right in the middle of everyone. Gino in the Lexus is the next car to actually be fighting with these guys and is trying to get past a whole heap of back markers and other cars. Leonard Shungle, you can see behind them. Carlos Bandera has lost out. He's the blue Aston Martin at the back of this. He used to be ahead of these cars. John Dudley is the Bentley we just saw wiggling, and he's now side by side with Bandera, who used to be ahead of Shungle.
Oh my god, that is such a group of cars. It's full of them, as I see. I think that was McGregor just going super wide, opening himself up to be overtaken. Shungle and Geno very close together as well. That entire group behind the top 10, just very close together.
Yeah, and a load of these guys used to be slightly further apart, but these backmarkers have really brought them together and messed up this order. As it looks like Dudley dived into the pits. Yes, he has. So he's just abandoned this. That's not. That's a pretty smart move, I think. Seeing all of these cars here and how much it's hindered his rival in Bandera, just immediately getting into the pits and hopefully getting out of this for himself.
Ollie Henley not having a good race at all. He's already down in P10. That's going to be very bad for his championship chances, as Nicolas Alvarado is comfortably 1 second in the lead. Well, I say comfortably. A second can go by very quickly in this track. It's a single mistake.
Yep, and Menno Derrida is right behind them as well. So there's not even just one person he can possibly lose his time to. Unfortunately, I just saw Ollie Moss in the background there, but obviously he is now a lap down in the background there as a backmarker due to his incident, and that means Thomas van Zanten in his purple Mercedes is leading the AM split just a little ways ahead of Lewis Hawkins and Andy Thorpe.
I think it was Joseph Cocking. Yeah, Joseph Cocking ended up on the grass there in P31. Wonder if that was a bit of contact going on, or if it was just spinning on his own. As Steve Hughes and Andy Thorpe are getting all racy into those right-handers, those tricky braking zones coming into the third sector now. Now that's going to let Ollie Henley get up to the back of them, and Robert McGregor as well, not too far behind. So the back of the top 10 again, quite hotly contested.
Steve Hughes diving in the pits to get out of that situation.
Yeah, I think this is basically an option for everybody right now. If you're getting attacked from both angles, just hit.
Yeah.
See if Joe Boyle can pull some pit stop magic and do an undercut on Alvarado, or if his magic only works with overcuts.
Yeah, Nicolas Alvarado clearly having a bad hit last time, as he lost. Didn't just lose time on the rival in front, but lost a position to Derrida behind. So he definitely has to do better this time.
We're seeing that. Thomas van Zanten is he elected to go into the pit. He is currently in the lead of Tier 2. Lewis Hawkins deciding to stay ahead, having a bit of a contest with the back markers. Julian Strasser is actually having Strasser and Dan Terry having a very good race this time, being at P16 and P15 respectively.
Yeah, really nice for these two who qualified right down the bottom, but are powering up a little bit, although they both obviously haven't pitted. Hopefully Strasser can avoid a drive-through this time.
Yep. See more penalties coming out. Sam Teague has got a drive-through, and he hasn't even elected to. Yeah, he's elected to give up on the race. I'm quite curious what happened there. There's been quite a few people who just hit in and just give up on the race. This time around, people don't really like this track by the looks of things.
Yeah, there's definitely been a few people sharing that sentiment in the Discord.
We're having Leonard Schungel on the back of Fabio Geno here in P10 and P11. Schungel looking to make up those places, get into the top 10, which will be quite good for him. He hasn't been up at the front too often, so sensing a bit of glory now. As Joe Boyle is inching closer and closer, Nicolas Alvarado going to put on a bit more pressure.
Diandra as well right here. Really close to Nicholas Norberg, who it seems is just pit into the middle of him and Hughes, and he really wants to get past there, going for a bit of a dangerous overtake, but not managing to make it.
Benjamin Oriot having a bit of a better race this time in P5. Quite far away. No, actually not. Quite very close to Joe McDonald, who is pretty much 7 seconds behind the top 3. So the top 3 have opened up quite a bit of a gap. Alvarado and Boyle and Menno Derrida about 3 seconds behind, and then John McDonald a whole 7 seconds behind as he decides to go into the pits. Julian Strasser and Dan Terry were close together, but they have different strategies. Julian elects to pit, and Dan Terry's staying out.
Lewis Hawkins also is going into the pit. If we could get a view on that one for a bit, because he is right now in a direct pit battle with Thomas van Zanten, who we are looking at right now. So Thomas van Zanten, he has quite a way to go, but as we know from this the last pit stop battle we watched, the pit exit here is very long, although it does look like Lewis Hawkins has literally the first spot. So we will see.
It does, but these are long pit stops as well. They're 30 seconds.
Yeah, so a whole 30 seconds, and looking pretty strong for Thomas van Zanten. He's coming around the last corners already. This is about where Alvarado was when we saw the movement start from Joe Boyle, and he didn't quite make it.
Yeah, Lewis Hawkins now starting to move. Also, Ollie Henley has pitted, and Joe Boyle has pitted. So we're going to need to see what Nicholas Alvarado responds with. Joe Boyle is also coming out of the pit.
Absolutely, that's another one to watch, as Thomas van Zanten is just coming past the pit exit now, maintaining his lead.
Yep, and not only that, but does look like Lewis Hawkins is going to come out right into traffic. He's coming out right behind Ollie Henley and Victor Yamba as well.
And here Nicholas Alvarado goes into the pit as well. So we can have a look at him. See where Joe Boyle is. Joe Boyle in 10th position right now. And Joe Boyle is looking pretty decent, and Alvarado is going to have to make sure he comes out a little bit sooner than we saw anyone else come out, because he's got a spot right at the back of the pits. So he has the absolute opposite situation from what we just saw. He has already started going, but he's got a long way to roll, as we see Joe Boyle coming through the very fast start of the final sector.
It's the start of the final sector. I do think Alvarado might be able to take this. He's coming by the pit lights now, but there's a long, excruciating, and slow drive up to the pit line.
Yeah, it's looking good for him from what we've seen. But it, as you say, is closer than it looks.
Yeah, Boyle going on to the start-finish straight now, but Nicholas Alvarado is accelerating out of the pits and has just left the pit lane onto the first corner, keeping his lead.
Yeah, so he has done it. Congratulations, Nicholas Alvarado, keeping the race lead for now.
Saying that, more and more penalties coming through. Car 888 also getting a penalty. Ollie Moss having a horrible race compared to last time. Down in P34 with a 10-second penalty. So that incredible win for him is turned into complete disaster, as Thomas van Zanten is now, I believe, in the lead for the AM class, while Ollie Moss risks getting he will get absolutely no points this time.
And on the other way around, Florian Sachs is having a much better race. He is in 19, having already completed his pit stop, and he is leading a train of cars here. Right behind him is Carlos Bandera, John Dudley, and then Paul Crampf, with Jose Martinez not far off as well. So going to have to try and do his hardest for the next 10 minutes to keep his Nissan in front of some of these cars. So Bandera actually makes a little bit of a mistake there, and so they're sort of falling together behind him. John Dudley now looking for a bit of a move on him, and he's got side-by-side a little bit of a touring car budge there. That pushes Carlos Bandera out of the way, and he gets hit again by the McLaren behind him. This has let the Bentley of Jose Martinez get past as well, with Steve Hughes there just looking in the background. So once again, we're seeing Carlos Bandera just getting budged down the order, and John Dudley now sets his sights on Florian Sachs, who's got a little bit of breathing room.
So, remember when I saw Joseph Cocking on the grass asking whether he did that on his own or not? Well, it appears he was punted by Ollie Moss. So that was the actual thing that happened, and that was the disaster. Disaster for Ollie now, all the way down in pretty much last place.
And looking back at the top, once again, Meno Dorita has really maximized his pit strategy, because he is now ahead of Joe Boyle. He's in second position.
Yep, Alvarado though, 8.2 second lead. So if all goes well, he's one race closer to getting banned. Thomas Van Zanten and Ashley Bloomfield fairly close together in P6 and P7. Van Zanten having a much better race this time, though his actual position isn't that far from where he finished last time. Norberg now second in class, so that's gonna bring him back from behind Ollie Henley from behind Ollie Moss. Because the way the race before it is finished, Norberg would have lost that second position. Norberg, though, being chased by Robert McGregor and Andy Thorpe, less than a second behind him. So it's definitely this P2 in class is definitely not guaranteed. As Joe Boyle and Menno de Ridder getting racy down the start finish line. Joe Boyle thinking of looking down the inside, likes to not do that and compromise his race. As Fabio Geno gets a drive-through for track limits. Seeing those come out. Ritter and Boyle still fighting through to the end of Sector 1. The exit here so important, coming to that heavy braking zone as Joe Boyle goes off the track but manages to stay right up against Menno de Ridder into that heavy braking zone for the hairpin, trying to go around the outside. Not managing to make it stick. He's going to try to do the switchback, no, but he's trying to look for that inside and left-hander. Menno de Ridder does not let him, shutting the door and managing to stay ahead onto the not quite back straight. That's how I'm going to call it, not quite back straight. There we go.
These guys still fighting for P2, which is giving Alvarado the perfect opportunity to stretch his legs and possibly take the win on this event.
Further at the back.
Oh, hold on. We just saw Joe Boyle miss it. He hit a curb on the inside and went flying into the side of Menno de Ridder, throwing him off the track. They've both managed to get on without losing any places. But that was a big mistake for Boyle, as I believe you were looking back at this Florian Sachs-John Dudley fight.
Yeah. Yep, that was getting quite close as well. We've got Florian Sachs, John Dudley, and Paul Krampf, and Jose Martinez, Carlos Bandera, and Steve Hughes, all very close to each other and all looking to gain some positions here.
There's a bit of a dive bomb by the McLaren there as Paul Krampf gets side by side with Dudley and manages to come out of it just in the last sector. That's pushed Dudley back to being threatened by Martinez, who is not going to get the position. Just going to slot in back behind him. And so even more changes in position are happening in this little group. Carlos Bandera there gets a bit scared on the braking, almost going to back Jose Martinez, and pulls out of it early, which almost sends Steve Hughes into the back of him, but no collisions happen.
Yeah, that little incident between Boyle and de Ridder has just let Alvarado gain a lead of 12 seconds. This is a Formula 1 level of lead. As Van Zanten is inching closer and closer to Ashley Bloomfield, looking at P6 with sparkling eyes, let's call it. He's probably gonna try to make something stick in these next few laps. Ollie Henley and Victor Yamba also a little bit behind, but starting to get more and more racy. Joe Boyle and Menno de Ridder at it again in Sector 1. Again, this time Joe Boyle managed to make the overtake stick on de Ridder. I wonder if de Ridder had a bit of damage. He just couldn't keep up in the corners with Boyle, who's now in P2. But the question is, will the stewards let Joe Boyle off the hook for that incident?
Yeah, it didn't cause too much of an issue, so even if he does get something for it, it should only be 5 seconds, and it's very possible that it's put down to a racing incident as he flew off the curb there. But that puts the fight nearer the front off a little bit, as he should be able to start pulling away from Menno de Ridder now. But John McDonnell was very close on it as I saw it. Still, we're having great battles down here in 15th to about 12th, though.
Yeah, and apparently de Ridder gets those 5 seconds and not Joe Boyle. As in the midfield in P18, 19, 17, and 16, we have this very, very close fight going on. as Krampf jumps over the curbs a little bit, and Jose Martinez is looking down the inside of John Dudley. Into the hairpin, manages to make the overtake stick quite easily, and Carlos Banderas
Oh, he had, but then he made a mistake. Almost spinned it there, just caught it, but that's going to let his opponent past for now.
McDonald and the Ritter now getting closer and closer, so the Ritter probably does have damage, and McDonald is sensing a bit of weakness, might try to get an overtake done, even though he is basically still ahead, given that 5-second penalty, like already ahead. 80. That's Carlos Bandera. Yeah, he's getting a penalty as well, apparently, for causing a collision. That's going to end that fight for him.
Shane Thomas has also caught up to the back of this fight, and Steve Hughes there just going wide as he's been overtaken by Shane Thomas, who's joining in here. So Shane Thomas, Steve Hughes, two of our invitational drivers now having a little battle at the back of this train.
And at the back of the top 10, we've got Victor Yamba and Ollie Henley getting closer to each other. They're going to have a fight here in the final 3 or 4 laps of the race. We're going to have Thomas Van Zanten, Victor Yamba, and Ollie Henley. As Victor Yamba and Thomas Van Zanten go side by side for a bit, Victor Yamba overtaking Thomas on the outside, and also Ollie Moss, and also Ollie Henley. So Zanten had a big issue there. He lost 2 places to Yamba and Henley.
Yeah, he was going very slow on the straight, so it looks like he just caught a spin there or something.
Interestingly enough, both Joe Boyle and Mino de Ritter have 5-second penalties.
Oh, that nicely evens it out, and that's going to be nice for McDonald and Horiot, who are within the 5 seconds behind these guys now, so those guys could be finding themselves picking up places.
That's the actual podium at the moment. Is Alvarado, McDonald, and Horiot. Further back, you got Ashley Bloomfield, Victor Yamba, and Ollie Henley locked in a bit of a fight, but they're 6 seconds behind Horiot, so they're their own group. There's not really much else they can make up.
Good to see Ashley Bloomfield doing well as well, because he's been consistently losing this little battle of the invitational drivers with him and Hughes not really loving the BMW. But this is definitely going to be a good finish for him.
Something must have happened to Thomas Van Zanten. Maybe he's saving fuel, because he's already 1.6 seconds behind, and he was driving quite fast before. So maybe there's fuel saving going on, or something. Something definitely wrong with that car.
And Paul Krampf right up the back of Florian Sachs now. Daniel Martinez having a close little battle behind them as well. Shane Thomas right hugging on to Bandera, who's fallen back from the rest of the guys here. You can see a few 5-second penalties near the back of this group.
Yeah, unfortunately for Bandera, that's going to put him out of contention for all of the positions ahead of him, even though he is quite far, even though he is quite close to them. At the same time, though, John Dudley and Jose Martinez getting a bit tangled up. Not much coming out of that, though, as they do decide to stay safe. They are in 2 different tiers after all. They don't gain anything from fighting each other. Yeah, Thomas constantly losing time now to Henley, Yamba, and Bloomfield, and these 3 guys are fighting, so he's definitely got issues. See Nicholas Alvarado now coming into the. No, he's just started that lap, so you have 2 laps left. You have this lap and the lap that Nicholas is going to start.
John Dudley there went wide, almost losing the position to Jose Martinez, but manages to get back on the track before he does that.
So many penalties for the back. Fabian with 15 seconds worth of penalties, and Ollie Moss. Ollie Moss does manage to gain a few more positions, having a pretty intense fight with Ashley Graylish in P28. But those 10 seconds worth of penalties, they're going to put him quite far back. Well, by 2 places, actually, only. Still, Graylish even worse with 20 seconds worth of penalties. And Shane Thomas gets himself a drive-through, probably for track limits. So my predictions did come true, and as I said, Misano is well known to be a very difficult track to stay on, as there's basically nothing. Track limits are a little bit arbitrary, and it's very easy to take a bit too much curb. That's going to end Shane Thomas's fight and put him at the back of the Invitational split as well.
Right, man. The leader is on the final lap. Give it a final push.
We see Nicholas Alvarado, I believe.
He is now on his final lap.
Yep.
Leading around to the end with Joe Boyle, Menno Gorilla just behind them. Oriol and McDonald still within that 5-second window, so it looks like they're going to take that position for free. Although John McDonald looks like he wants to do it on the track as well.
That might be, I guess, unwise, but as long as he doesn't risk too much, there's nothing wrong with having the all race. But all they have to do is stay safe.
Yeah, all he needs to do is just stay behind that other Bentley.
Thomas Van Zanten now is actually back in the fight between Victor Janvoli and Ollie Henley. So my theory is that he was running low on fuel and went to map 2 for a bit.
It's possible.
Joe Boyle, yeah, Nicholas Alvarado is also just taking it easy, bringing it home, as he is more than 10 seconds, about 15 seconds ahead, really, of his opposition. So there's no real reason for him to risk anything as he's coming into the 3rd sector, overtaking some back markers, that being Joseph Cocking. Going through the final 2 corners now, Nicholas Alvarado going to take the 2nd race of this night, with Joe Boyle coming in as a 2nd on track, with Mo DeRitter 3rd on track. But with these penalties, the actual podium is going to be Nicholas Alvarado, Joe McDonald, and Benjamin Oria. So a fantastic race by Benjamin, getting a podium. I think his. I don't know if it's his
Victor
first podium.
Janda's taken Ashley Bloomfield right at the end as well, but then Ashley Bloomfield just powers past on the straight. I don't know if Victor was letting him have that position for possibly taking him off the track or something, but that was an interesting little finish there from those guys, as we're going to try and hop back and see a few more people who are in close contention. Here is Sachs leading home. Oh, Cramp for Dudley, but it looks like Dudley's actually done him on the last corner as well. So Dudley just sneaking past Cramp right at the end.
It looks like Thomas Van Zanten is going to take the victory for Tier 2, with Nicholas Norberg in 2nd position and Robert Greger in 3rd for the AM class, Tier 2.
Pjogny has made a mistake. He's trying to serve his DT on the last lap, which is not possible, and so he's actually just put himself even further down because he's still going to get the penalty.
He's going to cross the
line later.
The finish line. Yeah. Before going through the DT, and gets a 45-second penalty, which is probably going to put him all the way at the back.
If you have a drive-through on the last lap and you can't serve it, just complete the race, because then you lose as little time as possible before your penalty is applied. So there we go, at the end of the race now. And as you said, Nicholas Alvarado, John McDonnell, and Boyle coming across as our top 3, seems.
That's interesting. I thought Benjamin had that, but I guess Boyle pushed hard enough.
Yeah, must have made a mistake right at the end just to not be able to do it.
Fortunately, but still P4 is quite good, and the top McLaren, with the only McLaren the 2nd fastest McLaren all the way back in P17 with Paul Cramp.
So Van Zanten has stretched his lead in AM. Very good work by him. And then Nicholas Alvarado, taking his 2nd win, is going to put himself at a very good position, especially considering how low Ollie Henley has come. Nicholas Alvarado looking incredibly strong to be able to win this event overall.
I'm quite sure that Ollie Henley can still get this, though, because the next race is double points.
Yes.
And Imola isn't the greatest track for the Ferrari, as far as I remember. I'm not sure.
There are definitely some curbs that can kill the Ferrari on there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of those high-speed corners that it really is great at. So, yeah.
Yeah, but Henley is in the Bentley, which loves
those big curbs. He's going to be absolutely chunking that chicane in Imola for sure.
Yep, and Riley, if he's going to come back, He's also got a good car over the curbs. So Alvarado is a good thing he got those wins because he's going to need that lead. Fairly sure he's not going to have that great of a race. That's my prediction. Maybe he's not going to have that great a race on Imola.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everyone who's liked, subscribed, given us your Twitch Primes or anything like that. It's been some good races today. We've had some good stuff. Remember that we have our Wednesday races. We have the GT4 Hours of Alton coming up soon. We have our British Touring Cars Super Tourers. In 2 weeks is the next round, and this week on Tuesday we're going to have a DT's 8-lap bangers. We're going to have the second one of those, and it's going to have the British touring cars to get you guys all ready and hyped for that next event. Obviously, decided to move on there for me. Dave Jessett coaching is on the Thursdays, so hop into that if you are newer and want to learn. The practice session is also open for anyone in ACCSS, even if you don't want to do Dave Jessett coaching, if you just want some practice. And then we have exclamation mark sign up if you want to join us. I should also shout out, because we haven't shouted them out yet, I need to make a poster for these guys still. Track, TRACC, is a new group on SGP run by our new head steward Pavel and Julian, one of our commentators. That is the first fully focused race room community on SGP. So if you want to do some touring car stuff and some classic DTMs, then jump on over to there, grab the starter